Okay, we have all been there. You set a brand new goal, you're fired up, you're motivated, and then, a week later, poof, nothing. You're right back where you started. And it's so frustrating, right? But what if the problem isn't you? What if it isn't about willpower at all? What if the secret to making real, lasting change is actually hidden in these tiny, invisible moments that control almost everything you do?
Yep, I thought so. Whether it's that mindless Instagram scroll, the late-night trip to the fridge, or hitting the snooze button just one more time, we've all got them. Well, good, because today we are going to give you the user manual for your brain so you can finally start calling the shots. Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at why our best intentions usually fall flat. Then, we'll unpack the simple science behind every single habit. After that, we'll meet the 5 invisible triggers that are secretly running your day. And then we get tactical. How to spot them, how to design better ones, and the one tiny first step you can take the second this is over.
So, why do our big goals so often just fizzle out? Honestly, it's pretty simple. Setting a new goal without building a new habit is like trying to drive a car that has no wheels. You can have all the motivation in the world, that's a great engine, but without the wheels to actually move you forward, you're just going to sit there burning fuel. Good intentions are the spark, but they are not the vehicle.
So, to build those wheels, we've got to understand the hidden engine that powers every single one of our behaviors, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You see, scientists have discovered that all of our habits follow a really simple 3-step neurological loop. And I promise, once you see this loop, you will never be able to unsee it in your own life. And that is where the power to change everything begins. And here it is. It's just 3 parts: a trigger, a routine, and a reward. First, some kind of trigger tells your brain to just go on autopilot. Then comes the routine. That's the action you take, the habit itself. And finally, you get a reward, which tells your brain, hey, this little loop, it's worth remembering for next time. This cycle runs all day, every day, mostly without us even noticing. For our explainer today, we are zooming in on that very first step, the trigger. Why? Because the trigger is the starting pistol for the race. And if you can control when that pistol fires, you can decide to run a totally different, healthier race. That's it. Understanding your triggers is the absolute key to taking back control.
So, if triggers are that important, what are they? You might think they're completely random, that there are thousands of them. But what researchers have found is actually pretty amazing. Turns out, almost every single habit trigger falls into one of just 5 main categories. These are the invisible forces that are shaping, well, pretty much your entire day.
And here's the wild part. There are just 5. That's it. Think about that. Almost every habit you have, from brushing your teeth in the morning to checking your phone 100 times a day, is kicked off by one of only 5 types of triggers. Learning what these 5 are is like getting the secret operating manual for your own brain.
And here they are: time, location, something that just happened, a preceding event, your emotional state, and finally, other people. So let's break each one down, because just being able to spot them in your own life is the first giant leap toward mastering them.
First up is time. This is probably the most common trigger of all. You know, you wake up and boom, a whole cascade of morning habits just starts automatically. But it also triggers the less helpful stuff. Ever get that sudden, intense craving for a cookie around 3 p.m.? That's not some random biological urge. That's your brain responding to a time-based trigger it has learned and perfected over years.
Next up, location. You know, your environment is one of the most powerful and most overlooked drivers of your behavior. We automatically assign habits to certain places. The couch triggers TV watching, the office triggers work mode, and the kitchen, well, the kitchen can trigger a whole lot. It proves a powerful idea. You don't just have habits, your environment actually designs habits for you.
The author James Clear puts this perfectly. You weren't even hungry. You weren't even thinking about cookies, but just walking into the kitchen, the location, and seeing them on the counter, a visual cue, triggered the habit of eating them. Seriously, changing your environment is one of the fastest ways to change your behavior. Okay, trigger number 3 is a preceding event. This is when one action becomes the automatic spark for the next one, like dominoes falling. Your phone buzzes. That's the preceding event. What do? You pick it up. That's the routine. Now, when you use this on purpose, it's called habit stacking, linking a new habit you want to an old one you already do.
Our 4th trigger, this is a big one, our emotional state. And let's be honest, this is often the source of our most stubborn, not-so-great habits. Feeling stressed? Maybe you reach for a glass of wine. Feeling bored? You open up social media. These habits offer a quick, temporary escape, so our brains learn to use them as a solution whenever those uncomfortable feelings pop up.
And finally, our fifth trigger, other people. You've probably heard this quote from Jim Rohn, and it's so true when it comes to habits. The people we surround ourselves with have a massive impact on our behavior. If everyone you work with goes out for a donut at 10 a.m., chances are you'll start wanting a donut too. We're social creatures, and we can't help but mirror the habits of our tribe.
Okay, so the theory is great, but how do we actually use this? How do you find the specific triggers that are driving your own personal habits? Well, the next step is to stop being a passive passenger and start being an active detective of your own behavior.
The author, Charles Duhigg, offers this really simple but powerful framework. First, you have to get incredibly specific about the trigger. Don't just say, I get stressed. No, say, I feel stressed, that's the emotion, when my boss, person, asks for an update preceding event at 4 p.m. See how all those triggers layer together? The more specific you get, the more power you have to change the routine. Remember, you don't eliminate a bad habit, you replace it with a better one.
And now for the really fun part. Once you can see your triggers, you can stop being a victim of them, and you can actually start designing new ones. This is where we go from being reactive to being proactive. Instead of letting your environment and your emotions just push you around, you get to consciously build your own starting pistols. Now, the absolute key to a good trigger is specificity. A vague goal, like, I'll do push-ups during my lunch break, is just a wish. But a specific trigger, like, when I close my laptop to leave for lunch, I will immediately do 10 push-ups. That's a command. It's a precise, unmistakable starting gun for the new routine you want to build.
Here's a brilliant, super practical technique from performance coach Brendan Burchard. Use your phone. Set a few alarms throughout the day, but give them a label that tells you exactly what to do. At 10 a.m., your phone goes off and it doesn't just buzz. It says, close your eyes, take 10 deep breaths. It's an unmissable trigger that literally interrupts your autopilot.
Here's another genius one from Burchard, the doorframe trigger. Think about it. We walk through doorways dozens, maybe hundreds of times a day without even thinking about it. So give that action a new job. For example, every time you walk into your office, use that moment as a trigger to think of 3 words that describe the person you want to be today. It's so simple, but it attaches a powerful new mental habit to a totally mundane action.
We have covered a lot today, from the deep science of habits to some really practical strategies you can use to design new triggers. But the goal here isn't to go out and change everything all at once. The whole point is to finally appreciate the incredible, compounding power of small, consistent actions over time.
This quote from the philosopher Will Durant really just says it all, doesn't it? Real, lasting change doesn't come from some huge, heroic effort. It comes from the small things we do over and over and over again. It's about designing a system of triggers that makes doing the right thing the easiest thing to do.
So let's make this real. Forget about your 10 biggest goals for a minute. I want you to think, what is the one single, tiny trigger you can design and implement right now? Maybe it's putting your running shoes right by the front door. Maybe it's setting just one alarm on your phone. Just pick one. Because mastering that one little trigger isn't just a small win. It's the first domino that will start a cascade of permanent change. Now go design it.